Hello. Hi, mind, brain, and behavior to person. There's one person out there. I wonder if they're a staff member or a student who's joining me this morning. So let me write a little message saying hi in our chat room. Thank you. More people joining us. Awesome. Maybe I should do a little LMS announcement to let everybody know that we're live. Now, what do you think? Hi, Z Chen. Hi, Fan. Thank you so much for saying hi and for tuning in. Charlie's joined us as well. My little puppy. He's just been sleeping, but he's just been outside and running around. So he's a little bit hyperactive right now. So I'll just write a note here saying, feel free to ask any questions you may have or say hi. So let's get Charlie to say hi. Seeing you guys at first, you can say hello to Charlie. It's a lucky treat for people who turned up. You can say hi, Charlie. You can see he's grown in the last week, haven't you, Charlie? You're getting big. Yeah, you say hello to everybody in Mind, Brain, and Behavior 1. Hey, who's out there? Yes. So last week we did some operant conditioning, didn't we, with Charlie? And he is, thank you very much for the licks. You might remember last time I was talking about this idea, thank you, Charlie, that I was teaching him to not be so bitey. And he's coming along quite well with that. As you can see, he's exploring me and his world with lots of licks and not so many bites. Isn't that right, champ? Can I put you down? And then I'll talk to the people, and then we'll come back and you can come and say hello to everybody in a little while. Okay? All right. So let me just put him down here. Bear with me 1 second while we just organize his lead. So I've actually got him on the lead next to me down here. He's still getting a little bit of operant reinforcement when he's a good boy and lying down here next to me on his lead. So, Z Chen, you're wondering what the mean grade for assignment 2 is. It is around 76-ish, around there. That's typically what assignment 2 works out to be in terms of numerical scores, in terms of grade bands. Sort of that lower H2A tends to be the typical range for assignment 2. I'm going to quickly not quickly throw up, would you believe that's actually what Charlie did earlier on this week on Wednesday morning. Charlie was coming to university for the first time, and he was going to come to my mental illness stigma lab that's in the Redmond Barry building on the 5th floor. And he got car sick and he threw up on my car and on me, which was less than ideal. Excuse me, come over here. And so Charlie has not been at the lab just yet, but let me put up, I should say, this announcement inviting everybody over to the stream and just let them know that we are live and streaming right now. Where are we? Where's our little share thing? There it is. Copy the link. So, folks, feel free to chime in with any questions you have or just say hi. I hope you're all happy getting your assignment marks back today. And the one thing I really wanted to talk today about is, now that that's all done and dusted, what are the things we need to think about moving towards the end of semester? What are the housekeeping sort of things we need to tie off as we move towards finishing up Mind, Brain and Behaviour 1 and getting ready to have a nice mid-year break? Our AMA stream is live here's the link. Oh, Charlie, settle down. Hey, what are you doing? That's not being a good boy, that's being a bad boy. So let's hyperlink that. Okay, out it goes. So I got some questions by email this morning as well that I'll have a look at. So I hope that answered your question there, Z Chen. And we've also talked about standard deviation this semester, haven't we, in terms of measuring the variability in a distribution, not just the central tendency. So I could also let you know that in addition to the mean, the standard deviation is around 8 marks. 8% is the standard deviation for our distribution. And that's a pretty ideal distribution with lots of, I think, assessment marks. Quite commonly, you tend to see them fall out around 7-ish, 8-ish% in terms of the standard deviation. Okie dokie. Let me have a look at these email questions that were sent through just a little bit earlier. Okay, so firstly, Robin, thank you, Robin, for sending your question in. Robin has asked here, will the multiple choice questions in the exam be grouped into the subjects subcategories? So, for example, would we have behavioral neuroscience questions first as a group and then sensation and perception, or will they be all just mixed up and random? The answer here is that they will be grouped into categories. So I have, at the start of this week, sent your exam. Hi, Irene. Sent your exam to the printer, and it has been written by Jason and Simon and myself and Meredith, and we've all collaborated to put the exam then together, and then I've checked the exam to make sure it's all correct and the answers are correct, and then another staff member has additionally checked the exam to make sure it's correct and all the answers are correct. And then it's gone off to the exam team for the university, and they are printing it up, and it's going to be there and ready for you on the day of the exam with the neuroscience questions first, 30 of those, then 30 questions from sensation and perception, 30 questions from Meredith's section on learning and cognition, and then 30 questions from me about research methods at the end of the exam. So they will be in sections, Robin. I hope that answers your question. You had another question. Have I got any general tips on how to best approach multiple choice questions in preparation for and during the exam itself? That's a really good question. There's certainly, I understand, going to be, a proportion of students who have never sat a multiple choice exam before. And you might think, is there a general strategy that you could apply? So the first thing I think that you would find useful, Robin, and for other students, if you are in this situation is to really make sure you are doing the practice exam questions that the various lecturers have supplied. I've got something on my glasses. So for let's see, Jason has given you a set of practice multiple choice questions for his behavioral neuroscience questions. I think they're called BN exam questions. That's the folder, and you can find that in his lecture folder. Simon's given you his actual exam questions. Simon's given you his actual exam questions. Meredith, so we've uploaded Meredith's exam questions exclusively to Peerwise, so they're not going to appear on the exam. They're not her exam questions, they're her exam practice questions. Simon's the only person who's giving you the actual questions, remember, and you've got to work out the answers, which is a challenging thing to think about at first. And when you look at the questions, you might think, oh my God, what is this about? Because so often when we answer a multiple choice question, the question is disambiguated in the context of the answers. So Simon's making you think here and really work through what the possible answers to his questions might be. And that's a really interesting way to learn, I think. And of course, my questions for the research methods component of the course are presented in those feedback quizzes that you can do immediately in conjunction with each module and each micro lecture. Zichen, off the top of my head, I don't know what the normal, what the typical percentage rate is for people acquiring H1s on the final. But typically, you know, think of, I suppose, marks distributed across the mind-brain behavior cohort or any subject cohort, they end up being just naturally quite normal. Most people do averagely well, so to speak, and there'll be fewer people that do really outstandingly well and fewer people that maybe do not so well. So that's the way things generally play out. And of course, we do change the exam from year to year. So it's a little bit difficult to compare exam to exam. But if you have a look at all of the practice exams that are available, you'll get a very good flavor of the types of questions that we'll ask and the difficulty of the questions that we will be asking. There are going to be some easy questions and some harder questions. So if you've not encountered a multiple choice question and answer scenario before, have a look at some of those practice questions and you'll notice that they are sort of stratified in terms of difficulty. Certainly the ones I've provided are. And you'll find that some are really easy to identify an answer, and then there's others that seem to have, of the 4 options that are available to choose from, maybe 2 options that are relatively easy to throw aside, and then there's 2 other options that might be really similar and might be really testing a deep understanding of a particular concept. And that's something that you will find and look out for, and I suppose now know to be mindful about this stratification in terms of difficulty with the exams, and that quite often you will find for any given question 1 or maybe 2 sort of distractor items, we might call them. Items that are clearly, if you have done, you know, any study around the topic, probably not the correct answer. And then there might be 2, for example, or maybe even 3, depending on how difficult things are, that you really need to think critically and pay close attention to the wording around. Oh yes, Black Cat, I love me some deep understanding too. So where are the practice exams? So they're on the LMS, and so mine are in the research methods modules. Charlie, are you being a good boy or are you being the devil? You're being the devil right now. I'll bring Charlie back up in a second so he can say hello to everybody. But Roy, so they're in my modules. Meredith's are on POIs. Jason and Simon have their questions online. It's great, sorry, on the LMS in their respective sections of the MBB1 LMS page. It's great to see people already working together in peer-wise. I've been checking in every couple of days or so to see people working together to write questions, to rate questions in terms of difficulty, and probably rating the what would be a good answer for the questions. It's great to see all of this collaboration happening. And Alicia, there's 30 questions on the exam from each module. That's interesting. So I can tell you there's 30 questions from each topic section of Mind Brain Behavior 1. So 30 for behavioral neuroscience, 30 for sensation perception, and 30 for my bit. So 30 from each bit. So there's 30 questions from the research methods component of the course, and they are roughly distributed across the modules. So you can expect that there will be questions tapping most, if not all, of the content in some way across the research methods component of the course. Yeah, that's a great question, Lee Kong. So will the final exam include some parts of practice questions? I would suggest it will. So let's talk about my section of the exam. Are you right there, mister? Let's talk about my section of the exam. There are 12 research methods modules, right? The last one's just like a conclusion, so there's probably not a lot to examine there, but think about the first 11 modules. For each of those modules, I've provided a quiz that has got 5 or more feedback questions, answers, and then explanations around why each answer is wrong or right. The modules themselves aren't that long. The way I designed that course, and I just developed that, it's fresh for this year, really, in its current form, is that I really wanted to break down the research methods curriculum such that the modules dealt with just one topic at a time. So fresh, right, Roy? Absolutely. Fully sick. So do you guys still say fully sick? Is that a thing? I imagine it's where you're from. It depends on where you're from. But given that each module only deals with one question at a time, and I'm asking numerous one topic at a time, and I'm asking numerous questions about that topic, more than likely, you're going to see some similarity in the exam questions to my practice questions, because let's face it, there's only so many questions you can ask about any different topic. So maybe I'll be applying a similar question in a different setting, giving it a different context, but certainly you can be very confident that I'll be asking about the same concepts. Fresh as an apple. All right, nice. I will ask all the questions. That's great. You go ahead, Black Cat, and you ask your questions. Black Cat, I can't see your icon, but I sort of feel like I may have been your research supervisor at some point. Is this right, Black Cat? Did you suffer as an honours student under me? I sort of feel like that might be who you are. Although you will ask all the questions, so I don't know, maybe you'd like to reframe that as a question for myself to give me the answer. I don't know. All right, so Charlie settled down for a little bit. I'm going to get him to come up and join the discussion. Just for a moment. Come on, buddy. Oh, you're such a good boy. Oh, up we come. Oh, right. Yes. What are you eating? What have you got? Can I have whatever it is? Can I have the thing? Give me the thing. What are you eating? Don't you should not turn your back to an audience, Charlie. This is presentation 101. What on earth have you got there? You've got a button. Where did you get a button? Anyway. All right. So who's got a question for Charlie? Here we go. Here's a question, Charlie. Will we be tested for the introductory lecture? Do you mean my introductory lecture, the one that I gave the first lecture for the semester? If so, no, because that was really just about, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Are you you're a little bit wild. Oh, now you're eating me. We told everyone that you were doing good work around not eating me, and now you're wanting to get all the things on my desk. So, Susan, the behavioral neuroscience is, if we're talking about Jason's first lecture, then I would suggest, oh, Charlie, no one wants to see that end. This end is much prettier. Yes. I would suggest that, yes, everything that Jason has presented is, thank you, Charlie. Oh, yes. Is potentially examinable. You go back down for a little bit. You're still a little bit wild. And as I've said numerous times before, my top tip for approaching reviewing the lectures is to think about what the say 2 or 3 really core topics in each lecture are, and then once you know what those are and you can understand those topics, then go down to a more granular level. But I recommend starting with the 2 or 3 main points, understanding those, and that's a really good way to start. And certainly a great way to approach study efficiently. Have you got another button? You are the devil. It's a great way to approach the exam efficiently if you've got little time. If you find yourself in a situation where you are where you're cramming, you've run out of time, that can be a good strategy. We've talked a lot about time management in terms of leading up to the exam. Charlie is pushing all the buttons. This is very true. So I've talked a lot about that in my recent live streams. So have a look back at the previous weeks of live streams, particularly I think not last week, but the week before and the week before that. We really got into time management leading up to the exam. And if you haven't already started to think about that, then now's the time really to start to think about those sorts of things and scheduling your study time now that you know when the exam is going to be held. Everybody's got that date now. You can find that via your student portal. You can now start to map out when you are going to study, Jason's first lecture, his second lecture, his third lecture. Actually schedule that from now through to the exam, and the same for all of your other subjects, so that you can create a plan and work methodically and consistently, steadily, so that you don't find yourself in a rush and stressed out and having a difficult time because of that as you get closer to the exams. I'm glad that you study all the time, Black Cat. That is very good to hear. What are the topics covered in Mind, Brain, and Behavior 2? I'm so glad you asked, Alicia. So I love both Mind, Brain, Behavior, and Behavior 1 and 2. I have a little bit of a bias in that I do more lecturing in Mind, Brain, and Behavior 2. And so I think it's a wonderful way to round off your first year. The topic areas are very different to the topics in first semester, but they do build upon, I suppose, what you've learned in first semester. So you've learned about how the brain works and how the mind works in first semester. In second semester, there will be more research methods, and again, via modules and whatnot, and I will be lecturing for that, but I'll also be lecturing for clinical psychology. So we will start the semester by looking at topics like mental health and mental illness and everything on the continuum in between, and learning about a range of psychological disorders and experiences from anxiety and depression through to psychosis. We'll talk about the mental health system. We'll talk about real world issues like psychological distress and suicide, and really very human, real issues. And this will be the first time that students are presented with content around perhaps what they typically think of a psychologist doing. I'm really passionate about that part of the course, and in fact, for the first time in semester 2, I'm really happy to be introducing a new part to that course that I won a grant to develop. It's currently in development in collaboration with an organization named SANE Australia, which is an organization that provides support and advocacy and information to people living with complex mental health issues in Australia. So whereas Beyond Blue, for example, would typically work around anxiety and depression, SANE's work is around typically more severe or complex experiences such as psychotic disorders, schizophrenia, and so forth, bipolar disorder, eating disorders, personality disorders, and so forth. And we'll talk about all of these things in semester 2. But the really great thing that I'm excited to, I might as well announce right here, is that we've received funding to introduce a new program to complement my lectures, where everybody will be, okay, Black Cat, sleep well. Thanks for the subscription, Black Cat. That's great to hear. So in association with my lectures, you'll be going to the Dax Center, which is an art gallery on campus. I did a vlog from at the start of semester about their mental illness stigma exhibition, which is nearly finished. So if you haven't been to the Dax gallery yet on campus, it's on the, oh, Charlie, no, don't be the devil. It's on the far side of campus. I will, I'm trying to wrangle a dog and type into an internet browser right now. So let me pull up the homepage of the DAX. So the DAX Center is a gallery and a repository of art that's been produced over decades by people with lived experience of mental illness. I'm posting the link in the chat window right now. You can click on that and learn about them. You'll actually be going there and receiving a custom educational program to complement the lectures that I'll be giving in Mind, Brain, and Behavior 2. And you will be also hearing from not just me, but a number of SANE Australia lived experience ambassadors, people living with a variety of mental illnesses, about their experience and what they would like you to know about what their experience of, for example, schizophrenia is like for them, and what they think you should know as tertiary students learning about clinical psychology. So clinical psychology is just the start. We've also got Dr. Abby Brooker delivering the developmental psychology section. This is all about the psychological process of maturation and development from, well, across the lifespan, from birth all the way through to later age. We have got social psychology in semester 2. That is about how we interact with groups and how groups interact with us and affect our thoughts and behavior and feelings and vice versa. That's with Professor Yoshi Kashima. We're really very lucky to have Yoshi teaching into this component of the course. And to finish off the year, we have saved the best to last, and that is Professor Nicholas Haslam for personality psychology. He is an expert in his field, a world expert in personality. Used to be the head of school, just one of the, if not the most accomplished and prolific psychologists that I know. And it's a real privilege to have him teaching into the course. So certainly if you were wondering about whether or not Mind, Brain and Behavior 2 might be for you, I can promise you, you will definitely find it interesting and I think enjoyable and rewarding as well. And I highly recommend coming back for Mind, Brain and Behavior 2. It's going to be a really exciting semester. So speaking about semesters, I just want to finish off before Charlie rips my office apart. He's going a little bit, getting a little bit frustrated here. I think he wants to go outside. If he wants to go outside, it's probably not long till he's going to want to pee. So I'm going to wrap this up quite efficiently right now before something happens. I wanted to talk to you about things you need to think about at this point in the semester as we head towards the end. Number one is REP. So remember, REP is not compulsory, but you can participate in the research experience program and obtain up to 5% credit towards your MBB1 grade in doing so. I've just extended the REP deadline by 1 week through to the end of SWATFAC to allow people to get that credit. I noticed there was a lot of people that were still maybe not even halfway done or even started. So now there's more opportunity to get those credits. Do try to strike a balance between online and offline studies, and that will be ideal, because the other thing, and the thing I find most important about REP, is that it gives you experience in psychological research, and you never know, it might, that process of going through that experience of participating in psychological research might just ignite an interest, and 20 years later you'll find yourself vlogging to a first-year psychology course when you've just found it all so interesting that you couldn't leave and you stayed at uni. What else? So REP is one thing. The other thing to think about is assignments. So assignment 2, the final assignment for Mind, Brain and Behavior 1, was handed back today. You can now go to the LMS and see your assignment mark and comments. If you have not submitted your assignment, or if there was a very lengthy delay in submitting your assignment, and if you, for example, failed as a result of late penalties, then what I would ask you to do is to follow up with me and to send me an email. So we've sent out emails to everybody who are in these circumstances, but let's take this as a follow-up personal message from me. If you are in those situations where you failed because you submitted extremely late, or you've not submitted an assignment yet, and that could be either assignment 1 or 2, please contact me by email. and I will speak with you about the best options available to help you sort this out and move on from this point. The other thing to think about is tutorial attendance. Of course, we've got a hurdle requirement that 80% of classes are attended, tutorial classes, that is. You can check your tutorial attendance on the LMS. Charlie, honey, hey, what are you doing? Yeah, no, be nice. Yes, be nice. Essentially, if we disregard the percentage, you need to attend nine of the tutorials this semester. If by the end of next week you fall short of those 9, if you've got 8 or fewer tutorial classes that you've attended, then we will be in contact with you about what you need to do to fulfill the hurdle requirement of attendance. Attendance in tutorials is the only hurdle requirement for the course, and you don't need to worry that you're going to fail the course. That's not going to be a thing. If you have fallen short of the hurdle with tutorial attendance, we will assign you a writing task, an additional writing task that you'll need to complete. And once you've completed that writing task, we will release your mark for the semester. You'll be eligible to pass the course, right? So if you're in that situation, don't worry, we will contact you in due course at the end of the semester when we download the grade center and we have a look at the number of people who haven't completed the attendance hurdle. We'll then be in touch with the details of that writing task and everything that you need to know. And that's about it. Are there any final questions that you would like to ask me at this point in time? Oh, there is one thing that I wanted to mention. So, Charlie, I'm just going to get Charlie because now we're getting into the danger zone. Charlie wants to go outside, and we're getting a little bit restless, I think, aren't we? You come here and you be a good boy with everybody. You see everybody there? You say hello? So the other thing I wanted to mention just before I go is that it's taken a long time to work through the process, but we actually will be finally we will be finally holding our group photo session. So you remember the LMS banner has got reference to let's get together and have a group class photo. That's going to happen. It took a long while to work out legally exactly what we had to do. It's going to happen in the next week on the Thursday. So the second last day of semester, we'll take a celebratory group photo where everybody from Mind, Brain and Behavior 1 who wants to be involved can be involved and come along, thank you, Charlie, to have their photo taken. Why don't you lie up here on my table? How's that? Like a big baby. Yeah, because you are a big baby. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. And we're going to get together and take that photo. I'm going to send out an announcement about exactly what you need to do. So if you'd like to come and join me and the tutorial staff and the other staff and students on the course, you'll need to complete a little release form that says you authorize us to take a photo of you and be in the photo, and for that to be on the LMS. And I'm creating a Turnitin link on the LMS where you can just submit that form, and it's just a legal thing that says that you're willing to be in the photo and to come and have your photo taken and be part of the group that is Mind, Brain and Behavior 1. And maybe Charlie will come too. Do you want to come and have your photo taken? Yeah, I reckon you should. Oh, thank you very much. Yes. Okay, so that's it from me. Thanks, everyone, for another great week. And I will speak with you again next week for the week 12 live stream. Okay, take care, everyone. I'm going to try and reach the end stream button, and we'll go and let Charlie have a run outside. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Have a good week.